Good day everyone. Our topic is all about global literacy. To start off, I am going to define first what is global literacy. In Tagalog, global literacy means pangdaigdigang karunungang bumasa at sumulat. When we say literacy only, it is defined as being able to read and write, or to having knowledge about a specific subject. When you can read, this is an example of literacy. When you are familiar with math, this is an example of literacy in mathematics. And also, again, the ability to read. What is the importance of global literacy? Global literacy promotes and encourages, first, in inquiry. I am going to explain first literacy in inquiry. When we say literacy in inquiry, this would help the individual to have the capacity to critically understand and use the language, symbols, and skills of inquiry, and to reflect on their meaning and usage during and after the activity. For example, if this is when the student are experiencing difficulties in his or her study, he can inquire or ask his or her teacher to deeply understand the topic that is discussed. Next, we have reasoning. When we say literacy in reasoning, is the cognitive ability to allow us to notice similarities and relationships across contexts. When we have the skills in reasoning, it helps us to create and justify arguments, generate inferences, and create figurative language. This is one of the core competencies of adolescents in literacy. In problem solving, literacy in problem solving is the process of designing, evaluating, and implementing a strategy to answer questions or to achieve a desired goals. Again, as what I have said, when a person or when an individual has the capacity in math, this is an example of literacy in mathematics. Next, in collaboration. Literacy in collaboration addresses the core competencies, at the same time creating a classroom communities in which students can learn and grow. Like for example, if the individual or each of the student in the classroom are sharing or collaborating with each other, the student can learn and grow better. Next, communication. In communication, literacy in communication, this means they need to be able to speak well, listen to the other effectively, read fluency, understand what they have read, and be able to write skillfully with a sense of style. Understanding of the world of languages. Literacy and understanding of the world of languages is, or literacy development in one language support literacy development in the second or subsequent language. Like for example, if a Filipino can speak Tagalog and he can also speak in English, so therefore if he or she can encounter a foreigner, he can speak also English because he are capable to speak it. Okay? And lastly, literacy in culture. Cultural literacy referring to the ability to understand and participate fluently in a given culture. If a person knows his or her culture, he or she are able to participate well for all of those celebrations that their culture are celebrated. Okay? Next, the meaning of global literacy. Global literacy is cross-cultural fluency and responsiveness in understanding, engaging, and communicating in an interconnected world. For us to better understand the global literacy, our topic, the rest of my group mates will continue to discuss our topic. Thank you and God bless everyone.
I will be continuing the discussion on global literacy. It is an understanding of how the world is organized and interconnected. It brings awareness of the possibilities and constraints facing the world's people. So, being global literate, it is explicit that having of how the world being linked or being connected to each other, having all constituent parts linked, and the possibilities of being aware of the happenings around the world. Like, for example, how understanding on how the world organized, having different cultures and languages. So that's the concept of global literacy. So, global literacy could be defined as having knowledge, global awareness, and the ability to grasp global events. As such, for example, there's a war between the Ukraine and Russia. Even though we are in the Philippines, which is 1,000 miles away from those countries, we are aware of we are aware and we are able to grasp that event happening in the other country. And that is being global literate. That is global literacy. We could be aware on the happenings around the world. It can also be described as the knowledge, access to, and comprehension of current political, social, and economic issues to enable the individuals to fulfill their roles as an active and global citizen. So, seeing ourselves as a citizen of the world rather than a single country. That's how we should understand the global literacy. And like for example, in the comprehension of the current political, we would be able to know who's the president of the other countries and how are they being governed. Like for example, if they were dynasty or they were what we have what we call this one democratic country, and the social and economic issues like the poverty and any other issues we would be able to understand, we would be able to know, because even though we are far from those happenings, like for example again the wars, we would be affected by the crisis that the other country has been facing. Like for example, on the current situation, we are facing the crisis on the rising of gas price, and that is because of that is due to the due to the that is global poverty, global crisis actually that is happening. And as an individual, to fulfill our active citizen, respectful of culture diversity and human rights, and that is how we could be a global citizen. Responsible global citizen. And then, so the importance, it students who are globally literate are able to think critically about the world and the role that they play. As students, if we would be able to be global literate, we would be able to think critically about the issues or the happy be thinking of, and what is our role. We would be able to know our role, or I mean the I mean the purpose. We would be able to know the purpose that we possess. So global literacy promotes and encourages first the inquiry, that is asking information, or yes, asking for information, reasoning and problem solving, especially in applying into real life situations, and then collaboration, especially when achieving goal in a jointly activity. For example, the world is collaborating in Miss Universe pageantry. That is a very good example because participate into that global contest, that global activity, and that is jointly activity, which not just a single country is of countries, mostly of the biggest countries participate on that prestigious event. Communication and an understanding of the world languages and culture. So at least we know that, for example, in China, the people there is Chinese, and their primary language is Mandarin. Like for us, Filipinos, and our primary language called Tagalog. Yeah, and that is communication and understanding of world languages and cultures. Like for example, this is very important to know, at least to understand that, for example, and we go to United Arab Emirates, that country, Arab countries, then you order there, you find their pork burger. And what is lacking? The thing that is lacking there is that you don't understand that Arab Emirates doesn't eat pork. The Arab people doesn't eat pork, and that is very important for us to understand that their culture is different from our culture. So we must understand that at least when we go to countries like Arabs, we shouldn't find any porks there, because it would it would affect ano ba, because there's no such pork on that country. Arab people doesn't eat can that's it is important for us to know the culture of some other countries, because for us to avoid violating their cultures, or disrespecting them. An understanding of globalized system and political realities. This is very important because, again, seeing ourselves not just only the citizen of a single country, but rather a citizen of the world that is being globalized system and political realities. At least we could have an understanding. So, responsible global citizenship. When we say responsible global citizenship, we should respect culture diversity. That's the term, diversity of cultures. We should understand one country's culture, for us to be able to respect their culture, because of we had this called culture diversity. And of course, being responsible global citizen, we must we must have respect on the human rights. I would like to share the four categories of human rights: the survival, protection, participation, and development. If we would be able to respect those rights and hindi natin natatapakan yung rights ng ibang tao, then we could consider ourselves as responsible global citizen. Next is respect for diversity again. The best example there is that we should know that the different cultures or the diversities, for example, respect for diversity, like respect for black, respect for white, respect for maroon, respect for what we have, what diverse that is present on the world, that we that yes, an understanding of the skills and technologies that are necessary for life in the 21st century. This is very necessary, especially in the new normal education system today, because understanding or having the skills in technologies, we are able to connect, we are able to grasp information around the world using the online platforms. We are able to continue education despite of the pandemic, and that is having skills and technologies that are necessary for our life at the present and in the 21st century. So that being literate, having an understanding and skills of the skills and technologies is being global literate. Next is the ability for students to become advocates for themselves and their city or state or country. So for example, if you were, for example, here in Bunawan, in our community, we have an organization, non-government organization, that is advocating human rights and women empowerment. That is, as a student and as an active member of that organization advocating human rights, child rights, and women empowerment, I could consider myself as partly being global literate, because I believe if I can, if I could, then you can. Because I believe if I was able to do that, if I was able to do so, every student would be able also to advocate for themselves, and in a simple way, and that is in a very simple way, we are able to become voice of our state, our city, and our country, and we are implicitly helping the progress and in the progress of our society. So encouraging all the students, to become an advocate. We could be an advocate of environmental protection. We could be an advocate of human rights, child's rights, and many more possibilities that would help our society to become better and to make world peace, to make a difference at least. So before I end this report, I would like to share you this quote from Manisha Shundhari. Let's spread the importance of education among.
Why do we need a multicultural curriculum? Multicultural education is highly focused on bringing together students from all backgrounds and promoting collaborative learning. However, there are many more reasons to implement a multicultural curriculum in our classroom. How do you use multicultural literacy? 10 ways to implement multicultural education in the classroom. In a rapidly changing the world, it is becoming more and more important to promote education programs that caters to the needs of diverse field students. If you want to adopt multicultural education in your class, here are some of the most effective ways to do so. First, understand your students. First and foremost, it is very important to understand the cultural background of all your students. It helps in knowing all the cultures and address and listen to plan. You can know your students by interviewing them on the first day of the class. You can also go through their personal records. To understand the students better, you can also ask the previous teacher about them. To identify their strengths and weaknesses. As an effective multicultural teacher, it is your responsibility to identify the strengths and weaknesses of your students. To know how to eliminate them, you can do so by checking the previous academic records, individual interviewing each student, and frequently assessing the students performing in the class. 3. Encourage them to share real-life experiences. Organize casual sessions where students share their past stories and experiences help them to open up, relate with each other, and build strong communication skills. 4. Organize open discussions. Selecting a current cultural or social issues and holding an open discussion on them allows the students to share their thoughts, be better listeners, and know about issues faced by other communities. 5. Plan group activities. Planning group activities that focus on teamwork and collaboration help overcome cultural barriers, increase students' involvement, and embrace cultural differences in a class. 6. Cultural food swap. Occasionally, you should ask the students to bring their cultural food for lunch and swap with one another to help them embrace and know about various dishes. 7. Encourage cultural storytelling. Every one household has some folk tales that are told to its children. Ask the student to share their cultural stories and draw moral lessons from each one of them. 8. Hold multicultural seminars and events, bringing in guest speakers from different cultural backgrounds. By organizing seminars and events, helps both multicultural education and its best. 9. Schedule a monthly culture day. You can encourage students to wear their cultural dresses once a month to help them learn about other students' backgrounds. 10. Celebrate native festivals. Celebrating cultural festivals is also help each student feel valued and eventually make the classroom cultural responsive.
Of multicultural education. A major goal of multicultural education is to help students from diverse cultures learn how to transcend cultural borders and to engage the dialogue and civic action in a diverse democratic society. So what are the characteristics of multicultural education? Multicultural education has 5 main characteristics and goals. These are the context, integrity, integrations, knowledge, constructions, reductions, equity, pedagogy, and empowering schools and culture and social structure. So first is integration. So integrations is to exceptional educations being partially taught in a mainstream classroom. Activities are adapted so the student can fit in within with their mainstream first while learning skills that may be better practice in the room with more age appreciate peers. So the second is knowledge constructions. This is knowledge construction. So knowledge constructions is students learn by connecting new knowledge with the knowledge and concept that they already know, hereby construct the new meaning. So research suggests that students connect knowledge most effectively in active social classroom where they initiate knowledge through integrations and variety approach. So third is reduce prejudice reduction. So prejudice reductions describe lesson that and activities used by teachers to help student have student to develop positive attitude toward different racial, ethnic, and cultures groups. So the fourth is equity, the pedagogy. So the pedagogy has been defined as teaching strategy and classroom environments that help students from diverse racial, ethnic, and cultural groups attain the knowledge, so skills and attitude needed to functions effectively within and to create the perspective a just, humane, and democratic society. So the empowering school culture has dimensions involved in storing the cultures and organizations of the school, so the student student from diverse racial, ethics, social economics, and language group experience equality. So member of the school staff examine and change the cultures and society culture of the school. That's all.